Hello, welcome everyone. This is Jim May. I'm the marketing manager at Index Corporation. As we get things started today, first I just want to start out by saying thank you to all of you for taking the time to join us. We know there's a lot of competition for your time these days, and certainly a lot of virtual events this year, given the nature of what we've been going through and with IMTS getting canceled. So we do truly appreciate you taking the time to join us this afternoon. Just some quick comments before we get started. To give you a rough idea of our agenda today, we're going to start out with some live comments from our current CEO, Tom Clark, and our incoming CEO, Cris Taylor. After that, we have prepared 5 machine videos with applications engineers and members of our sales team coordinating to present an overview of machines that would have been featured at IMTS this year. We were originally going to live stream those. Due to the limitations of GoToWebinar, we opted to go with a video approach that should be a very smooth experience for you. We would recommend, if you haven't already, to go ahead and maximize the screen so that you're in full screen mode. As we're playing through the videos and live streaming, that will give you the best visuals of what we're showing you. Lastly, as we're going through this, we will be taking some pauses after each of the machines to answer any questions that you have, as well as at the end of the presentation, we'll have just kind of a general Q&A for anything that you've seen or just any lingering questions that you have regarding any of the machines or Index as a company. So with that, I am going to go ahead and turn things over to Tom and Cris.
Good day, everyone. I'm Tom Clark, and I'm joined here today with Cris Taylor, our incoming president and CEO. As I welcome you as well to this Experience Day for Index, and our hope is to inspire you, to inspire a thought process of what manufacturing can be going forward. As I complete 40 years in this industry, we have gone through a number of very disruptive times in manufacturing, and we have weathered them well and come out stronger on the other side. We're in a very difficult time right now, both economically and also health-wise with the COVID. But we must focus on what the future is. Our goal today, again, is to inspire you to think about the future, your manufacturing, your customer base, your needs, and how do you come out of this pandemic and this manufacturing downturn better and stronger than ever before. We at Index believe firmly in this and have been investing in technology to help you. High production turning centers are what we do and all that we do, but we focus on how to make you as flexible and as productive as possible. And as you look forward, the next 5 years, the market will come back strongly, and the people that are well prepared, well invested to take advantage of the market will be the ones that survive. We'd like to be your partner in that through our turning centers, our application solutions, our automation. We believe we have the technology that manufacturing in North America will need. Also understand that we think the market will come back fast, not only from the bounce after the downturn, but also it'll come back with reshoring of production that has been offshore for a number of years. And once again, an opportunity for all of us to take advantage of it if we have the resources in place. Certainly the workplace will be different going forward, and we must embrace different ways of working, whether it's automation, whether it's new equipment that's more flexible, so that we can complete products done in one. I've been through many of these, from 9/11 through the economic downturn, and I'm here to assure you that the future is bright and strong, and the 2020s will be a great opportunity for us. We'd love to partner with you and hope that you get great value from today's presentation. With that, I'd like to introduce Cris Taylor. He is our incoming president and CEO for Index North America. Welcome, Cris.
Thank you very much, Tom, for the introduction, and a warm welcome from myself to the Experience Days of Index Corporation here in Noblesville in Indiana. It's a really exciting time for me. I've been in this business 35 years, I spent the last 27 years within the Chiron Group, so it was a long one stint in one company, and now come to a vitalized index corporation, index company is really exciting for me. I'm an old service tech. That's where I started off in the machine tool business. Spent many years myself on the road wrenching a spanner, and loved every minute of it. Been through various organizations and through special purpose machinings into machining centers, and then in the last 8 years I've been CEO of Stamo mill-turn machines, which was also a little bit similar to the index machines, or single spindle machines we build. So it's been quite a journey, and I am so happy here to be able to join the index group, and looking forward, and very exciting. And yes, we are in a downturn. We do have problems with COVID, but looking outward from Europe, where I've been the last 8 years, I spent 2007 to 2012 in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I understand a little bit of the American market, but now looking outwards the last 8 years from Europe, you see the strides that American manufacturing's been doing in the last 8 years, especially the onshoring. And yes, we're going into a downturn. We're in a slide at the moment, but I am absolutely sure it's going to be coming back. We'll be pulling stuff back from Asia, maybe from further down south, etc. So I see a very strong growth coming to us in the 20s, just like Tom said. So here, Index, yes, I think Tom's done a fantastic job in the last few years here. Building up a very stable organization. We still have work to do. We're never perfect, but we've come a long way in the last few years. As my service experience, I think we'll be concentrating on our service and services, custom support, etc., which can never be good enough. We're never good enough, of course, but I think there's a lot we can do here. And I think with my experience over the many years of service tech, we can do a lot to help us there in the future. So no long lost words for me at the moment. I'm still the new kid on the block. I'm still in my honeymoon phase here. And I'm still learning and listening, but I'm really looking forward to next year, and for the future of next few years here in Noblesville and in Indiana. So thanks, Tom. So back to you.
Thank you, Cris. As Cris and I talk, it's very seldom that we have this kind of a transition of leadership at a company. And we've been working very well together over the past couple months, and Cris has traveled here. We've been investing through this downturn. We have been adding service technicians, application engineers, even as we were working from home. So what's important is for you to understand our commitment to the North American market and the investment we are making in our people, in our facilities, in machine inventory, in service parts, in training, to try to build the most capable organization to support you. That is going to be critical. The machines are one technology, but the people and the support will make or break a good manufacturing solution. And I assure you, with the strength of our company globally and our 2,200 people, our 70 people here in North America, that we are committed to continue that growth and support. So again, we'll close now, get you onto the technical content. We thank you for your time, and we look forward to working with you going forward. Good day.
Hello, everyone. So sorry about that. I received some comments throughout that we were having some technical issues with the live stream of Tom and Cris. Our apologies for that. We've tested this thing a multitude of times this week and had it up and working, but apparently the live stream failed us during the start, at least for some of you. So fortunately, you should all be seeing my screen now. We've recorded, like I said, some videos to walk us through each of these machines, so we should be able to avoid the issue that you just had. We're going to start out with the MS-48 with William Bleemel and Mike Dyer giving us an overview of this machine.
Index Corporation. I'm a multi-spindle applications engineer. Right now I'm standing in front of a MS40-8, and this is the part that we're making. It's similar to a aerospace connector, but we've decided to go ahead and put it onto a MS40-8 as a demo. So I wanted to kind of explain a little bit about the machine, just to give you a brief overview. So next to me is the Siemens controller that we use. It's really user-friendly. After normally a week of training, the operators feel comfortable enough to be able to take this control and work with it. It's a very powerful control. It has to be able to handle the amount of axes that we have within the machine. So I'm going to go inside the machine, and we're going to kind of show you how we're processing this part, what we're doing in each position, and some of the capabilities that we have within our machine. So I'm going to go ahead and start the machine up. The one thing that we normally do in our first position is we feed out against a solid stop. Because this machine is set up to just trace parts, because it is a demo, you won't see the feed out, but the rest of the operations you will be able to see. So in our first position here, we're going to rough groove the OD of the part. So just a 4mm groove tool. This is 6061 aluminum that we're going to be using. So we rough groove the OD, and then we come in with a drill out the ID, just rough it, and then we finish bore the ID of the part with a boring bar. So in our next position, we're going to finish turn the OD of the part, finish turn the threaded, or the thread major, and then you'll see us come in with a boring bar, and we're going to thread the OD of the part with a boring bar. And then we're going to rough groove the ID of the part with just a 2mm grooving tool. In our next position that's coming up here, we're going to use an X and C axis transmit with one of our live tool stations to create some flats. So we can mill any type of contour with this, as long as the tool can come in from the face of the part. So we'll do that, and then we come in with just a drill, and we drill out the front flange of this part. So our next position here, we come in and we use our Y-axis to mill flats on the OD of this part. So as you can see, we're using the C-axis of the spindle and the rotation around our quill to create a Y-axis. So then we come in after that and we broach the ID. Now we're not using any special broaching tool. This is just a horn broaching using our CNC slide, and then we rough turn the back of the part. In this next position, we are finished grooving the ID grooves of this part. So boring operations, drilling operations, all of that could be done in this position. And then we're putting in some cross holes. So we're doing some live tool work again, and we're putting in some cross holes onto this part. In our next position here, we're engraving the front. So if you had part numbering or anything along those lines that you wanted to be able to engrave onto your part, we have that capability in our machine in a cycle. So we don't have to have a processor to be able to engrave. So we engrave, and then now you're watching it, and we're simply deburring the OD flange of this. in our last position, you'll see it come up on the next one. We come in, we use our synchron to come in and grab the part, and then we cut off, and then our synchrons allow us to swing to our back working positions. So the benefit of a multi-spindle is we take the parts and move the parts throughout the tools. Instead of like a twin spindle where we move the tools to the part, in this machine, we're moving the parts to the tools, which then allows us to separate the amount of time it takes to make a part. So a part like this, just estimating, would be maybe a minute and a half on a twin spindle machine. On this machine, we're running it right at about 20 seconds or so. So in our last position, we cut off, we bore, we thread. We do have live tool capabilities on the back working. And so I hope you found some of this information beneficial, but I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to one of our regional sales managers, and they'll talk about the specifications of some of our multi-spindle line.
Okay, hello everybody. I'd like to thank William for that demonstration on the machine. And to introduce myself, my name is Mike Dyer. I'm the regional sales manager for Index in the eastern half of the Midwest as well as the deep south. And I'll be doing a brief PowerPoint presentation on the MS40-8, and there'll be opportunities at the end for us to have a brief discussion if there are any questions. So this is the MS40-8 multi-spindle lathe. You can see the nice wide opening there in the front, easy access. The ideal part for this machine typically is one that can fit in your hand. It's not too long. Length to diameter ratio of about 3.5 to 1 or less. Decent volumes of lot sizes 5,000 or more are ideal. If you have live tool work that's required on your parts, this is a good machine for it. And if you have a part that has tight tolerances, lots of call outs, concentricity, it's a part that you don't want to be moving from machine to machine. The fact that you can do it in a single setup, there are huge benefits there for you. The machine is designed to replace up to 6 machines. The capabilities of this machine allow you to make the same amount of production rates that typically you can get out of single spindle machines, and quantities of 4 or 6 machines can be matched by a single MS40-8. And it's an easy way to increase your capacity without adding square feet to your facility or taking up a lot of floor space or hiring additional operators. And it also simplifies your process control. Very simple to program. In spite of what it looks like, it's actually quite simple. You basically have 8 two-axis machines. The MS40-8 is also designed, as are most multi-spindles, to give you the lowest cost per part. Dramatic increases in productivity will reduce your per piece shop rate and labor costs by a factor of up to 6 or more. And producing lots on a single machine reduces your costs related to quality, energy, logistics, manpower, programming, work in process. Pretty extensive array of areas where you save a lot of money per part with a multi-spindle. And despite the higher initial investment, multi-spindles do pay for themselves faster than single spindle machines, usually as a result of just the sheer volume of parts that you're creating off the machine. Get maximum process stability with the Index multi-spindles. Our machine construction maximizes vibration dampening. We have a spindle turret design that eliminates the transfer of vibration between the spindles. We utilize a 3-piece Herc coupling, which gives you outstanding accuracy and repeatability and reliability. We have hydrostatic bushing supports on our Z-axis to keep them free of friction, no wear, maintenance-free, and zero backlash. There's a lot of flexibility in how you can set up an MS40-8. We have 16 tool slides that can be configured with X, Y, or Z axes. The Y is available on up to 4 axes on the machine at a time. Up to 14 of those positions are available for back working. Every spindle position has a independently controlled C-axis with 7,000 RPM, and the machine can be configured as either a double drop machine utilizing 3 front working spindles and 1 rear working spindle times 2. So you get the productivity of 2 4-spindle machines, or you can use it as a single 8 spindle machine with a single synchronous or synchron spindle for your back working. The MS40 is the second to the largest of the multi-spindles in the Index portfolio. By the name of the machine, 40 tells you it's a 40 millimeter through hole with 8 spindles. Each spindle is 7,000 RPM with 24 kilowatts power. A very powerful machine for its size class, and with high torque, 57 Newton meters. Again, 16 tool carriers and up to 7 tools can be used for rear working. At this time, if there are any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. And thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you, Mike and William. We're going to open the floor up for questions now. You can just type the questions in the text box. Those will come through to me, and I can put them to the group. One question that we had discussing this with someone beforehand was just how long does it take to set the MS48 up for parts similar to the one that was shown in the demonstration? Okay, do we have anyone there? Is there a technical issue going on with the mute? Okay, so it appears we're having an issue with our audio. No problems. If anyone has any questions on the MS48, please go ahead and just enter those now. And in the meantime, while we're getting that sorted out, we will go ahead and move on to our next presentation, which is the C200 Production Turning Center. And we're going to have Kyle McCracklin and Tim Partridge walk us through an overview of that machine.
I'm Kyle McCracklin, an applications engineer here at Index. I'm standing in front of a C200, which is one of our very popular high production single spindle machines. I'll show you around the inside a little bit and tell you about some of the features, show you a little bit of the control, and then I've got a demo part set up in there that I'll run for you. You can see that the machine is very compact and easy to access. It's very easy to touch the back of the machine, so changing tools, doing anything in here is super easy. You see it's got the main spindle and counter spindle. You have 2 options here, a D65, 65 millimeter or a 90 millimeter. This is the 90 millimeter. We do have a reduction chuck over here in the counter spindle. And then you have 3 turrets. Turrets 1 and 2 have a real X, Y, and Z axis. Turret 3 has an X axis, and then the counter spindle moves for its Z. You can still do tandem operations with turret 2 and turret 3 on the counter spindle. You just sync the lower turret to the counter spindle, and they it tracks the counter spindle until you program some relative motion. You can have VDI 25 tool holders, which would be 14 spots, or you can have VDI 30 tool holders, which this machine has, which is 10 spots per turret. Our VDI tools are pretty awesome. We have the W serration, where it interfaces with the turret, and it makes it super repeatable for taking the tools out and putting them back in between different setups. When you take the tool out and put it back in, you can expect it to repeat within a few microns of where it was originally. You can also see here the gantry. I have it jogged out. This is what swings in to grab the workpiece and then deposits it on a conveyor belt back behind me. Show you a little bit about the control. This is kind of the main page for running the machine. It shows you your position, distance to go, speeds and feeds, where you are in the code. Down here on the lower part of the control, you have your feed rate override, super helpful, spindle speed override, reset, start, stop, normal stuff. You have this confirmation switch over here. If I were to go into jog mode, it would light up. That's usually the case here. Things that are active or can be used light up. So when I twist that, my X and Z and Y buttons light up, and that's going to allow me to jog the machine around with the door open. So yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with the door open by just using this confirmation key. I'll jump into the program here real quick. Here in this rough turning group, I have a rough turning cycle, and if I open it up, as is often the case, you get this cool mask with a graphic on the left and parameters on the right, which influence the cycle. And yeah, you can see it's pretty helpful. This would be a really easy way for me to change the depth of cut right here at the machine, just by changing one number, not having to reprogram stuff. So yeah, a lot of these, our cycles, have these really helpful masks. If I go down to the transfer, moving the part from the main to the counter spindle, again, we have this really helpful mask, which tells you exactly what you're inputting and what influence it has. Go over to the parameters page. Here you have your tool list and wear corrections. You also can see stuff with your 1_3 file, which is our tool change file. This file makes it super easy to see if you've got the right tools loaded in the machine, or if what you have loaded in the control matches what the program needs. It also makes it really intuitive to do changeovers. It kind of walks you through the process of taking tools out and putting new ones in. I'll go ahead and close the door and run through a part here. So on the main spindle, we're doing some pinch roughing. On the counter spindle, that was a finish or a facing pass, and then we're milling. On the main spindle now, we'll do some pinch milling. Then on the counter spindle, drilling, a couple different spots. On the main spindle, we're doing a finishing pass right now, and once it gets past the threads, we go ahead and start the threader. Doing some chamfering on the counter spindle, and now some tapping. And I think we're doing deburr pass on the main spindle while drilling at the same time. A little chamfer. And then this is just a simulated cutoff since I'm just tracing the part. Typically the counter spindle would come forward, grab the part, pull it, or yeah, and then cut off. So yeah, that's a pretty good example of kind of part that would get run in this machine. And I'll go ahead and turn you over to one of our regional sales managers. Thanks.
Thanks, Kyle. My name is Tim Partridge. and I'm the regional sales manager for the East Coast, and I was just going to walk you through just a few other key features of the C200 machine. Here's a front picture of the C200 machine showing you what limited floor space it takes to house this machine. One of the advantages right off the bat, small footprint. And of course, third turret. The third turret is one of the main features of this machine. Immediate 50% gain in productivity and output over a 2-turret machine. Increased tool capacity allows processing of more complex parts. So you can have up to 14 tools per station, meaning that you can hang on to tools between setup and just have resident tools that you typically use already located inside the machine. And then the third turret, ability to serve either spindle, allows third turret to efficiently produce parts requiring disappropriate front or back working. So when you're having a little bit of problem balancing the machining process, you may have just as much work at one spindle to the other spindle that you can use that third turret to bounce back and forth between spindles that aid in cutting down those features and reducing cycle time. Identical dual spindles, well, this is one of the keys to a lot of the Index products, especially the C200 machine. You have identical main and counter spindles, allow maximum flexibility in part processing. So when you when you have two spindles that are alike, you never have to think about a weaker spindle when you're trying to program your part and come up with a machining strategy that gives you the optimum cycle time. High precision and liquid cooled spindles. Index single slide system, another one of the dynamic features of the C machine. This slide is showing you a close-up of the scissors mechanism that controls the X and the Z axis per turret. Unique index guide system provides kinematics that ensure significantly faster dynamic response because of the less movement and less moving parts, maintain stiffness, vibration, dampening, and accuracy, and it helps with eliminating potential effects of thermal growth as well too. Here's a more broader view of the kinematics per turret. You can see the scissors mechanism being driven by a screw, again, that controls the X and Z axis of the spindle. And this is a picture of the back of the machine. It's very open. Once you see the back of the machine, you know what I'm talking about. Very few moving parts to generate the X and Z movements that we need. Flexibility. Machine design enables pinch turning, pinch milling, dual process drilling, and flexible part support options. So, this pinch turning and pinch milling and all these different processes are not only a reduction in cycle time, but they can really balance out the process, and they can come up with a more stable cut as well too. Integrated automation. The X-Center robot cell offers simple turnkey automation. This is a new design for us, which recently came out. Space-saving design. As you can see, still the floor space is small, even with this unit on here. It's completely integrated with the machine. Accommodates secondary processes such as cleaning, deburring, etc. Enables unmanned operation with no interruptions from part loading or unloading. So this is capable of most post-processing operations that you want to do and don't want to do inside the machine, such as part inspection or just part stacking. Thank you very much for your time, and now we'll open the floor for questions and answers.
Okay, thank you, Kyle and Tim. We're going to try the Q&A again. So if someone wants to field the previous question, when we were looking at the MS-48, the question we had was just how long it would take to set the machine up for parts such as the one that was demonstrated.
So this is Daniel Kesting speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Daniel.
Okay, so this is based on the experience of the operators and also of the situation of the setup right now. So if the machine is, I would call it I would say it naked, so nothing is mounted on, no tools, nothing. So we start from scratch. It's about, the bar loader, it's about a half day, putting the tools in the machine. The best thing is the tools are presetted already with a Zoller or anything else, like all the tools are ready to put in the machine. It's about another half day, maybe a day. And then to run the part in, the program is done already, I would say about between 2 shifts and 3 shifts, and the machine is ready to run if the tools are presetted and all the tools and the bar pusher and bar depending items are present.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Daniel. Another question that came in is just what kind of part quantity does one need to have for these machines to be cost effective?
So you should run like 5,000 parts and plus.
Okay.
So if you have less than 5,000 parts, the changeover time is probably too long. It's not worth it. If you have a part family, based on my experience, if you have similar parts, just change the material or just a couple tools, then 3,000, 4,000 would be fine too. But if you set up the entire machine, you shouldn't go less than 5,000 parts per job.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. So we have a couple questions here that have come in on the C200 video we just watched. I don't know if Kyle or Tim, you want to take these, but first we had just what kind of capacity does the robot cell have? So I'm sure that's talking about the iX Center.
Well, that's this is Tim. That's a six-axis robot, up to 7.5 kilogram payload with an integrated gripper control. It also comes with a double gripper as well, and that system also comes with 22 pallets generically.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Another question that we have that came in here: what's the maximum bar diameter on the main spindle, and is the sub spindle the same?
On the
This is
C200, yeah, go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, on the C200, you have 2 options, but the larger of the 2 is the 90 millimeter spindle. And yeah, both the main and counter spindle are identical. Typically are oftentimes fitted with same size collet chucks. Do you have anything to add to that, Tim?
No, that's it.
Another C200 question that came in, just the W serration that Kyle mentioned, unique to Index. So asking if that's unique to us.
And yes, it is. It's a patented system for Index.
Okay, very good. So it looks like that is all the questions that we had so far for the C200. If anyone thinks of any additional, feel free to enter them and we'll address them in the next break. I will also mention right now, it looks like we have maybe a couple questions coming in that I think are directed for Tom and Chris. So if you have general questions for Tom and Chris, you can just note that when you type the question in, and we will hold those until the end. So next up, we have the G200 turn mill. We're going to be having Ed Weinberg and Michael Nickel walk us through this machine, and we'll get started with that now.
Hello, my name is Mike Nickel. I'm an applications engineer with Index Traub. I'm standing here beside the G200.2 mill turn machine by Index. I'm going to go over a few of the features that this machine has, and then we have a test part we're going to run through, and I'll explain the operations as they go. On this particular test part, we've broken up some of the operations to give you a better emphasis on what's going on. Typically, when we engineer a turnkey solution for a customer, we strive for 3 tools in the cut as much as possible. That way we can give you the most efficient process possible. So now I'm going to explain some of the features of the machine. This particular machine, we have 3 tool turrets and a milling spindle built into this turret. Each one of the turrets has 14 tool locations with a VDI tool interface. The milling spindle has an HSK tool interface. The milling spindle has a capability of 6 different tools. Each one of the turrets has a capability of 14 tools. All the tooling positions on the turrets are capable of being driven up to 7,200 RPMs. The milling spindle is also capable of 7,200 RPMs. The main and counter spindle are identical spindles. They're capable of up to 6,000 RPM. This machine is capable of running up to 65 millimeter bar stock. It also features a gantry arm. The gantry arm would come in and grab a finished part out of the counter spindle, pull it out and deposit it on the conveyor belt to carry it outside the machine. When you get down to the end of your bar, the gantry can also come in and grab your remnant out of the main spindle and pull that remnant and deposit it on the conveyor as well, so that while that's happening, the bar feeder can go ahead and load another bar and keep your process right on rolling. In this particular setup, we have some radial live tools, some axial live tools, some static tools, any one that you can see on any typical setup depending on your part and your geometry. We're going to go through and start up the trace program, and I'll explain the operations as they're going on and touch on some more key features of the machine. We start out on channel 1. We come in and do a face pass, get your bar stock cleaned up and size, and then we'll do some pinch roughing and turning, some finish turning, some threading, some pinch milling. On the counter spindle, we're doing some work to create a 4mm hex and then finish turning on it. Right now on our main spindle, the channel 1 and channel 2 are synced up, doing a pinch turning operation. What this does is allows you to cut that roughing time in half, because channel 1 and 2 are both roughing at different diameters at the same time, but they're synced up. This machine gives you the ability to do that because when you sync up the axes, the tools have about 30 thou distance between each other, so they're not running into the stock. On channel 1, it has a full 360-degree articulation on the B axis, so you can take that turret and put it anywhere you need as far as your geometry requirements. Right now, it's taken the axial live tool at 20 degree into the part. It can do this with any of the tools on the turret or the milling spindle, and it can do it on the main spindle or the counter spindle. Something else neat about this machine is all 3 channels are capable of working on the main or the counter spindle. Right now we've got a 3mm drill that's 30D. We're sending that deep into the part, and we're using channel 3 because of the length of the tool so that we can index it around, and that's why we brought it over to work on the main spindle. And then here you see some more synced up action in the axes. We've synced up the 10mm end mills for the flats, so they're cutting that time right in half. Another cool feature of this machine is the high pressure coolant system. It's capable of up to 80 bars or 1160 psi. This machine has incredible rapid traverse rates, 50 meters per minute or 1900 inches a minute in Z. These machines are incredibly robust, rigid and accurate, and all the tool data for your geometry is stored in a unique file. That way when you go to do another setup or you tear the machine down and if you don't pull out your perishable tooling from your tool holders, you leave it how it was, and you pull the tools out, with the W serrations, it allows you to put those tools back in exactly where they was with incredible repeatability. So with all the geometry data and the offsets saved in a unique file in the program, when you reload the program and reset up the tools, you are literally ready to go and run those parts exactly how they were running the last time. Saves a great deal of time on setups and efficiency. This machine also has a Siemens-based control specifically designed for Index. Utilizes a touchscreen monitor and some hard keys. Very user-friendly. From right here, you can do all your typical operations as far as, you know, manual control of the machine or operating your program. Right here would be our program screen. And if you notice at the top of your messages, come up here, it's telling you to open the door because we ran it through a cycle. So we go ahead and open the door up and you'll notice the message goes away. To do any manual functions on the machine, we have a safety protocol built in. So if you go here, it allows you to put the machine in jog mode, and then you select turret 1, 2, or 3, or the sub spindle, or the gantry. What we're going to do is we're going to select turret 1. We're in jog mode. With the door open, it will not allow you to move any function of the machine without using the confirmation key. When you turn the confirmation key on, the keys, the axes that will be available to you will light up. And so this is to have both hands on the control to make sure that you don't have any hands in as an operator for safety. So without the confirmation key turned, no axes will move with the door open. Now with the door closed, you can jog everything around like you would normally. This is another safety feature built into our Index machines. And once the door is closed, it automatically locks until you use the guard key to unlock the door. Some more features of this machine would be that you can go into, you know, your normal screen here, and then you have, you know, program influencing. On this page, you could adjust the percentage of the rapid traverse rate. So if you're doing a setup and you want to single block through, check it out, make sure everything's all right. You can manipulate the feed rates. And then you have another feature of the Index machines is you have multiple block skip levels. So if you want to do a family of parts and turn on or off features, you can program it that way. So you could essentially use the same program and run different parts within the same part family. And it's easy as checking or unchecking some of these boxes. This is totally user set as far as the programming goes. From the operate unit screen, you can manually operate any of the functions of the machine. Here we have the tool carrier file open, so this would be your turret 1, 2, and 3. We can manipulate the gantry, turn the spindles on, anything like that from right here. Your process control screen shows you what program that you have in, your program's loaded, and your previous cycle time. MDI, you can set it up and do any of your manual data input stuff that you may need to do for setup or testing. Single process, kind of the same thing. You put it in your own code and then just run it through once for testing sake. And then we can go back over to our menu select, and this gives us another soft key menu. And from here we can look at our parameters. These parameters would include your tool geometry page that I'd spoken on earlier. This is all saved to your program file so that when you reset this job up, you have all the geometry from the tools in there. So as long as you don't break down the tools, all that information's right there in the program with it, as well as the offsets. And it's all saved to a unique file within that program. And then from here you also go to your other parameters of the machine, anything to do with your work offsets, tool change positions, speed limitations, anything like that. It's all controlled from right here. And this is where you would also load your tool data file, which would be your 1_3. And then it's really easy to get back to where you was. You just go back to machine, go to display selection, your program's right there. This is different displays on your program screen, so if there was something that you wanted to look at in particular. And again, I'm Mike Nickel, an applications engineer with Index, and I look forward to engineering a turnkey solution for you. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our sales team.
Thank you, Michael, for your presentation at the machine. My name is Ed Weinberg. I am a regional manager here at Index. What I'm going to do now is just kind of go through and hit some of the highlights of the G200 machine, things that we really need to focus on. The G200.2 is the newest version of the G200. 3 turrets, as you saw, 3 Y-axis. One of the things that I hit home hard on this machine is the ergonomics and the accessibility to the work area. This being a vertical built machine, the accessibility is phenomenal when it comes to changing tools and turrets. There's no standing on a chip conveyor. Everything is right, easily accessed for the operator and or the setup people. Also, with regards to this design, also is optimum chip flow. With this, there's very few places for chips to go ahead and collect, as you would find on a typical slant bed type mill turn. So phenomenal chip flow, minimizing operator interruption. Of course, operator intervention on a cycle does nothing but slow down production. The machine is designed with great loading and unloading capabilities. The footprint is small for the floor space that is required for this, but it's also a very large working envelope. You have approximately 660 millimeter between centers, equating to roughly around 25, 26 inches. It gives a lot of flexibility on the machine. This is the ultimate in a turn mill machine for flexibility of what you can do with the machines. I always emphasize very, very strongly on the W serration of our turrets. Considering this machine has 3 turrets on it, the W serration is extremely important to have a thorough understanding of why we do this and really where the benefits come in. The VDI tooling is extremely fast change, but again, everybody cringes at VDI tool holders because they are not very accurate. So what we do is have the W serration ground into the outer circumference of the turret. As you can see in that center illustration, it's a convex. The tool holders that we build, and we do license some others to build, we actually have the ground mating surface on a convex area. So we have 8 mating surfaces for positioning of the tool holder. Not only is it outstanding for the positioning, but also it creates 8 mating surfaces for very, very strong and very stable tools. The speed of the machine is very important. Rapid traverse rates for X, Y, and Z, acceleration, deceleration from your main and counter spindles. All of these equate to cycle time. And this is really important when it comes to profitability on the machine. Doesn't matter if you're making 10 pieces or 10 million pieces. Your cycle time is essential to the profitability of the machine. With Index's extremely high rapid traverse rates and extremely fast acceleration and decelerations of the different axes and the spindles allow you to have that non-machining time cut down to a minimum. The versatility of the machine: 3 turrets, a milling spindle, large workpiece capacity, the ability to have 3 and 4 potential of 4 tools in cut simultaneously. All of these equate to profitability. You have 42 tools on the turrets, plus an additional 6 tools in the tool changer. So you have a total of 48 tools you can have into this machine. Quick changeover, very, very strong, extremely accurate. But the fact that we can have the versatility of multiple tools in cut really, really improves your profitability on your parts. I want to thank you for your time. It's now open for questions. If anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask Michael or myself, we'd be more than happy to go ahead and answer what you need.
Okay, thank you, Michael and Ed. So we'll open it up for some questions again. We had two come in during the video that look like these are from the same person and they're kind of related. First, is the main difference between this machine and the previous one the addition of a milling spindle, and then is part complexity the main factor on which of these machines would be a better fit?
This is Ed speaking. I would say yes, that is a very good point. The flexibility of the G200 over the C200 is the fact you have 3 Y-axis instead of 2, and the ability to have the B-axis with the milling spindle and a small tool changer with the additional tools. It gives you greater flexibility to be able to go and machine many different types of parts with angles, things of that nature, over the C200. So C200, outstanding machine. G200 takes you to that one next level up with the additional access and capabilities of the machine.
Okay. And then another one that came in, what's the maximum size of part that the G200 can handle?
That's a very good question. As far as length, as far as weight, as far as diameter, not sure exactly what you're referring to with regards to that. We did touch off on length of being roughly about 26 inches between centers. Weight-wise, I'd have to look up. I don't know that off the top of my head. The chuck size typically on this machine is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, a 200 millimeter chuck, pellet chuck. The bar size on the machine is 65 millimeter, yet you can go ahead and put a 3-jaw chuck on this also with a much larger swing. It's going to be limited. It's not going to be, a 20 or 25 inch diameter type of part, but it's probably in the neighborhood of around 10 inch.
Okay, thank you, Ed. So I don't see any other questions coming in right now, so we're going to go ahead and move on to our next machine, which is the G420. So same series as what we were just looking at, but a considerably larger format. You will recognize both the gentlemen in this video because we have Kyle and Ed giving us an overview of the G420.
Hello, I'm Kyle McCrocklin, an applications engineer here at Index. I'm standing in front of the G420, which is one of our newest machines. It's our machine for big, complex parts. The foundation of this machine is a cast mineral monoblock bed, which is very heavy, like 50,000 pounds, the total weight of this machine, rigid and vibration dampening. And on that foundation, we've got 3 tool carriers, identical main and counter spindle. The main and counter spindle, the main spindle has like 120 millimeter pass through, which is 4.72 inches. And like I said, identical counter spindle over here. We've got our milling spindle. This one has an HSK 63, but Capto is also an option. 12,000 RPM, 115 tool changer. It's got an X, Y, and Z, and then B axis for 5-axis machining. Pretty cool. We've got our lower turrets, turret 2 and 3. These are all VDI 40 holders for big tools. All spots driven. We've got real XYZ axes on both these. One really cool thing is you can tuck them really far under their respective spindles. So for instance, I'm able to get at the main spindle with turret 3 here for this big drill and a couple big boring bars. You can also get some steady rests on either or both of these. So for your long parts, you can get support while you're turning. And you can turn up to 1,600 millimeters, which is like 60 or 62 inches, something like that. What I've got in here right now is kind of an energy sector part. It's like an oil field drill bit. Over on the main spindle side, I've roughed it out, finished, turned it, put some API threads on it, ran this big drill, some boring, and then I'm doing feed milling here for some slots and to rough out these pockets before transferring it over to the counter spindle, where I'm doing more milling. I'll put some insert pockets in here and some mud holes before calling it finished. Something that's really cool about this part is I've got 3 end mills running at once. So an end mill in the main spindle, roughing those pockets out and doing the flat, and then a couple end mills here working together to rough out and then semi-finish this part. So compared to a machining center with a single tool carrier, I'm getting like 3 times the material removal rate, on top of being able to do the turning in here, one machine process. And as far as getting the parts in and out, we have a couple options. One is the iX Center, which is like our in-house automation solution, with a robotic arm that can do like 250 kilogram parts, something like that. We also have a lighter duty work handling unit, which can come in kind of like a gantry. You can load parts, slugs, or get finished parts out. And that's got a limit of 25 kilograms. And then the control on this machine is a Siemens solution line, which maybe you've already seen a bit of today. It's sleek, it's powerful. It's got Industry 4.0. Some cool stuff like our manuals. So you have all your manuals here on the control. Of course, you can put your part prints, your tool lists. I like to use my 4.0 panel to check my coolant levels, my fluid levels. And then, of course, we've got our normal readouts for while we're running the machine, for operating different parts of the machine. We've got our tool management, which is pretty powerful, and program manager. So yeah, that's the G420. It's a great machine for large and complex parts. So with that, I'll hand it back to our sales team. Thanks.
Thank you, Kyle, for demonstration here at the machine. My name is Ed Weinberg, a regional manager here at Index Corporation. I'm just going to go through the machine a little bit here and focus on a couple of aspects that I think are very important for you to know about the machine, and just expanding on what Kyle has already covered. The G420 turn mill, the larger machine, one of the largest machines that we do build. Here, this particular picture shows the machine with a WHU work handling unit on it for either load or unload. It can be utilized for either. Very large machine. We've got 2 identical spindles, the main and the counter spindle. These are 120 millimeter spindle bar size with an option of 125 millimeter. Chuck diameters up to 16-inch optionally, and part lengths in that 1600 millimeter or over 5 feet. It's a big, large work envelope with a lot of flexibility in it. It's built for big parts, as it states right there, either shaft work, castings, forgings, drill heads, just about anything that you can put into the machine within that work envelope. The flexibility of the machine, we have 2 lower turrets, just to expand on this, both with Y-axis and every station live. Put that together with the motorized milling spindle and the tool capacity of 115 tools, gives you a total of 139 tools available with this machine, and every one of them can be live. 16-axis, 2 3-axis turrets, XYZB motorized milling spindle, 2 C-axis, and additional on the counter spindle. With the motorized milling spindle, this does allow for simultaneous 5-axis machining too. So it's not just a 3+2, 4+1. You can do full 5-axis machining with this machine. Thermally controlled. We thermally control the main, the counter spindle, the motorized milling spindle, and the electric cabinet. In other words, we're using a liquid-cooled system in order to maintain temperature on these. It's a way to reduce heat and just stabilize the machine throughout the entire working day. It gives you that ability to maintain tolerance on your parts. G420, as is with all of our machines, we are Industry 4.0 ready. The touchscreen control is designed for very ease of operation. A lot of things and flexibility that you can do with the machine. The iX 4.0 platform, as it states here, is a wide range of modules. This allows you with machine monitoring offline. It gives you the ability for monitoring preventive maintenance, program optimization, all your documentation, such as drawings, setup sheets, maintenance manuals, operation manuals, parts manuals. Everything is right into the control. Very, very handy. There's no more running around looking for the manuals. Integrated automation. There's a couple of different things we can do, as you saw in that initial photograph of the machine, the workpiece handling unit. This can actually have parts up to 120 millimeter, hence about 4 5/8 inch long and about 50, 55 pounds. This is operated from the machine control. This is utilized for either load or unload or both. Also with this machine, we do offer an iX Center robot cell, as we do on many of our other machines too. The iX Center has a robot built right into the machine. Basically, what you're going to get out of this is the ability to load, unload, be able to pair it together with pallet storage, with cleaning, deburring, marking of the parts, checking it with measuring with a coordinate measuring machine, stacking parts. A very, very flexible unit that's right on the front side of the machine. The other aspect of this is the weight of the parts that you can handle too. It's substantially greater than with the workpiece handling unit, up to 165 kilograms or close to 350 pounds. Very, very flexible for your machine. That's just a brief overview of some of the things about the machine. Be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Kyle is on board here with us to be able to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Kyle and Ed. Looks like we had 2 questions come in during the video. Early on, we had somebody ask, what would the cycle time be for the drill bit that Kyle showed?
About 3 hours.
Okay, very good. And then this looks like a more general question. Somebody just saying, all of the Index machines I've seen are for smaller parts. Is this machine an exception or a new direction?
I would say it's a direction of enhancing our product line. Index has always been in the G300, G400 series type range. This is just expanding on that previous platform. We are growing into larger machines too now with a G520 also, which is a little bit bigger. It's just an expansion of our product line.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ed. So I don't see any other questions coming in at the moment. We will go ahead and move on. This is our final machine video of the day. We're going to be looking at the TNL20, and Gonzalo Serrano, an applications engineer, and Craig Foster, one of our regional sales guys, are going to
My name is Gonzalo Serrano. I'm an applications engineer here at Index Traub, and what I will be speaking today about is the TNL20-11. So one of the nice features about the TNL20-11 is you're able to have 4 tools in the cut. We have an independent axis here. This is our V1 axis. So it's really good. For example, I was able to make a really long part, about 7 inches long, and bring our H-axis here to support it. I'll drag that down right now. I was actually able to bring the H-axis down here, come over with turret 1, the V-axis, and actually do some pretty complex milling here, and that worked out really well. That's one of the main differences between a typical twist machine. We also have the same thing for the bottom turret. It's got a Z2 axis. You're actually able to use that axis on the main side or the back side, so you have a rear working plate here. These are your rear working station for the sub side. But what you could do also is you could turn a holder that's typically used for the main side, flip it over, and actually use it for the sub side also. Each one of these turrets, turret 1, turret 2, and turret 3, also have an H-axis. It's also a nice feature. We do have 2 ways for you to extract your part. The first way is going to be through the opposed spindle. Flush it over the flushing tube here. It's going to come out through this side, the right side of the machine. And we also have the gripper system. I'll jog that over now and show it. So this is going to be the gripper that comes over to the sub side and grabs the part, and it'll extract it through the left side. Another nice feature of the Traub is going to be removing the need to route your high pressure lines. The high pressure and all oil is fed through the turrets themselves, so you're able to feed the oil directly onto the holder. You also have a couple lines here. Okay, and I'll go over some of the features of WindFlex. So through WindFlex, we have a couple of nice functions. So if you want to, for example, make a turning toolpath, you could do that on here, and it'll give you a 2D wireframe of that. What you could also do is, if you have a family of parts and a certain feature is the same for each part, you could save that 2D wireframe. Go ahead and grab it, right? Pull it up. Now we have that contour already saved on there, and it's pretty much ready to go, right? We also have a 2D or 3D simulation. So I want to save that. So this is a really accurate way for a setup guy, when he makes an edit on the program, you could go ahead and double check it to make sure what you did is correct, right? So it's got a nice 3D simulation of the part you are currently running. Okay, and I think, also another nice feature is going to be the fact that you don't have to stop the machine, grab a wrench, bring the main spindle all the way back. What you could actually do on this machine is we have a programmable guide bushing option, where you can just go here, okay, guide bush, and you could adjust it outside of the machine. So that's a really nice feature. Makes it a lot quicker for the setup guy or the programmer, wherever it may be. So those are just some of the features of the TNL20-11. If you have any more questions, I'm going to turn it over to our regional sales manager for more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Gonzalo. I'm Craig Foster, Regional Sales Manager with Index. I'm going to be walking you through a more detailed overview of the TNL20. The TNL20 is a more dynamic Swiss platform designed to shorten your cycle times, and here are some highlights. Large machining envelope for greater part flexibility, easy changeover between sliding and fixed headstock operation, simultaneous machining with 2, 3, or 4 tools depending on the machine configuration, highest precision due to thermally stable, symmetrical machine structure, turret indexing by NC rotary axes, and innovative part handling options. The TNL20 has up to 11 axes for faster part processing, unique thermally stable and vertically integrated casting design, and reduced setup times by placing all the tooling and spindles within easy reach of the operator. Changeover between a sliding headstock and a fixed headstock machine takes shorter than 15 minutes. The benefits of this are a shorter bar remnant and eliminates the need for ground stock. Both spindles in the TNL20 are fluid-cooled integral spindles, increasing the machine's level of utilization by not having to reduce cutting data on a sub-spindle. Main and counter spindles are identical in construction, same kilowatt size and torque ratings. The turret basic structure. The TNL20's unique twin X, Y, Z, and H axis turret design can hold up to 24 tools per turret. The chip-to-chip indexing time is 0.3 seconds. Tool drives at each station decrease the setup times. Large dimension tool holders, 45 millimeter in diameter, ensure high rigidity, stability, and dampening to increase tool life. Optimum coolant supply directly to the cutting edge further decreases your setup times by eliminating the need to plumb and route lines for each setup. We have 80 bar at each tooling station and up to 120 bar at 4 tooling stations. High cutting capacity for both turning and for milling due to greater rigidity in the use of turrets, and reduced part processing time by the use of pinch milling, pinch drilling, and pinch turning. The TNL20's unique twin turret design allows large tooling capacity compared to a linear tool carrier. The H-axis unwraps into a linear Y-axis with a remarkable 1,200 millimeters of wide travel. With 2 turrets and up to 400 millimeters of front and back working, the TNL20 presents a total of over 3 full meters of tooling resident in the machine. Turret indexing is in an H-axis and mechanical interlock is not required, reducing setup time by the use of hand wheel to set your tooling position and save to the control. This is superior to any linear or gang-style tool carrier. The front working attachment basic structure, the autonomous compound slide with X and Z axes, as well as Y axes function by X and H axes interpolation. 3 live tool mountings, 3 stationary tool mountings, up to 2 high-frequency spindles can be utilized on this drum, and coolant pressures of up to 80 bar at all 6 stations or up to 120 bar at 2 stations. The drum rotates in a circumference outside of the upper turret, eliminating the chance of collision with the upper turret. The back working attachment basic structure is 4 tool mountings for ID and OD machining. We have coolant pressures of up to 80 bar on all and up to 120 bar on 2 stations. The workpiece discharge is utilized with a flushing unit through the bottom turret. Workpieces are flushed out from the counter spindle through the indexing shaft of the lower turret by means of an optional flushing unit. This allows for easy and gentle workpiece discharge of odd profiles that can't be marred up. Flushing through the counter spindle allows the use of removal of long, cylindrical, and rolling workpieces through the counter spindle. This is for shafts and longer workpieces. Workpiece removal unit. The workpiece removal unit removes the finished workpieces with a workpiece gripper and then places them on a part removal conveyor. Removal via a servo swivel and a servo linear axis in the Z direction, once again allowing for damage-free workpiece removal. We also have the unique robot cell or iX center, intelligent automation, even more flexibility and efficiency. Blanks and or finished parts can be supplied and discharged quickly, safely, and flexibly. Has excellent ergonomics. The iX Center is an integrated part of the machine, so no separate installation and setup, no additional safety equipment. The space above the vertical storage can easily be used for subsequent operations such as cleaning, measuring, deburring. And once again, the iX Center can be slid completely out of the way when not in use. Lastly, the reduced cycle times, as we had mentioned, of up to 4 tools in the cut. We have 4 tools at the same time, simultaneously, yet fully independent. 3 tools on the front side, 1 tool on the back side. That's a quick review of the TNL20. At this point, we'll open it up to any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Gonzalo and Craig. Looks like we just had one question come in during that video right there at the end, asking about the 4 tools in the cut. Is that more a matter of getting the programming right or having the right part for it?
I would probably have to say a little bit of both. It all depends on, certainly the tool utilization on the lower turret is all going to be stationary tools. So it will be part dependent, it will be operationally dependent, but it's certainly possible to do an ID or an OD work with that lower unit and be drilling down there as well, or even tapping down there as well, if need be. Certainly, as we trail off with some of those tools, that's going to allow us to do some of those operations as well, and we wouldn't be doing multiple tool overlaps at that point, but we certainly would be finishing up the tail end work with that. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yep, I think that hit it. Thank you, Craig. So we have another one that just came in. Can we use cutting oil and coolant on this machine?
We typically don't like to use emulsified coolants. However, we do have several customers in the field utilizing emulsified coolants, just standard coolant, but typically it is oil. If anybody needed a reference, they could talk to those customers.
Okay, very good. Looks like that is all of the questions that have come in specific to the machine. So we will go ahead and attempt to reestablish our live stream connection with Tom and Cris for a couple questions that came in to them. Tom and Cris, are you there?
Yes, we are. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, very good. So the first kind of more general question we had come in was, has Index been forced to reduce the size of its service team because of COVID?
No, actually quite the opposite. We've been adding to our service team with new hires joining us in May and June and July of this year. We're actively recruiting as we speak for targeted areas around the country. So we are very much looking to expand. We need to expand. We want to become more regionally based. We want to build our pay service work and obviously improve our responsiveness. So no, that is one area we will not reduce. We'll get rid of one president before we go ahead and think about reducing service.
Okay. The other question that we have so far is just, how is manufacturing doing in Europe compared to where the U.S. is right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll let Cris answer that, having spent so many years in Europe.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. At the moment, not very well. If I look at the manufacturing base, especially in Germany, they have been struggling in the last few months, of course, since COVID. What they're noticing, especially Germany, is of course the e-mobility that is starting to push onto the economy. The German car manufacturers, in my opinion, have slept the e-mobility. caused a lot of trouble in the European manufacturing, but it's coming back. You can see in the last few months, it's starting to come back. If we take the machine tool manufacturers, they're all struggling. We're all having a tough time at the moment. Also, one, due to the e-mobility. Secondly, of course, due to COVID. And I don't think there's one German or European machine tool manufacturer that's having a good year in 2020. So yes, the Europeans are struggling. It will come back. They have good systems where they can keep their employees. We have these short-time working weeks, which you're allowed to hold on to your employees, and they still earn a little bit of money on the side from the government. So those systems they have in place are very, very useful to keep hold of your workforce. And we saw back in the last recession, 2008, 2009, that they came back very, very strongly because they had the workforce to come back with. So yes, it's a sharp downturn, but I think our feeling and most people's feeling in Europe is it's going to be a sharp upturn. We can see it coming back already, especially the automotive industry in Europe. So yes, it's going to be a tough time 2020, but we see a lot more positive in 2021.
Okay, thank you, Chris. It looks like that is all of the questions that we had come in today. So I would just like to thank all of our panelists, all the applications team and sales team that participated, as well as our attendees. And I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Tom and Chris, to wrap things up for us.
Okay, thank you. Well, I just want to say some short words before I leave, and I'll let Tom to wrap this up. But my thing is a big thank you and to Tom. Yeah, one for the last 4 years that he's been running the Index Corporation here. Tom's done a fantastic job here. Everybody I've talked to in Germany and here in the US, saying nothing more than praises for you. So you must have done something right, or you've been bribing them well, you know. But great job, Tom. You've put a fantastic foundation together. When I see the numbers from Index Corporation in the last year since you've been here, it's been an incredible upturn. And yeah, the COVID's not your fault, so you couldn't do anything about that this year. But otherwise, you know, great job. He's been incredible help to me in the past few weeks that we've been working together. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you in the last few weeks. I hope the next few weeks will be a pleasure as well. And I wish you and all from the management in Germany, they've asked me to wish you also all the very, very best health and happiness in whatever you do, whether you're just going, you know, go to the beach and put your feet up or go fishing or whatever you want to do when you retire. All the very, very best. And I wish you a long and happy retirement. So thank you very, very much, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Well, very nice warm send off. And I hope as we close today, you've learned that Index means better parts faster, more tools in the cut, more turrets. Look at every one of our product families, from our Swiss style T&L machines to the C series to the mill turns, all the way up to parts over 5 feet long, excuse me. And then our crowning product, the multi-spindles, which allow us to do 8 spindles and machine parts in seconds instead of minutes, and to do so flexibly, changeover, automation, applications engineering, and support. This is the roadmap we believe for the future, and we certainly ask for your interest in an Index solution, and we'd be more than happy to engage virtually, on-site, any way we can, to help you find your path forward in the future. So thank you very much for your time. We very much appreciate it in this very tumultuous period we're in, and we hope that we get to work with all of you going forward. Have a great day.
Thank you.